Hello. Hi guys, welcome back to my podcast. I'm Dawn, I'm a doctor, and today we are talking about the reality of sex because what we see on TV is not quite real, my friend. I'm sure you realise that already, but for some of you who might just be venturing into the world of sex, it's important that you know that it's not what it all seems, okay? Today we're going to be talking about sex on TV, and that includes porn. There's going to be a lot of explicit material today, so if you are of the easily offended kind, or, maybe, oh my god, my stomach just made a horrible noise, or are related to me, maybe leave now. I'll give you just 5 seconds, okay? But otherwise, I'm here to set the record straight. We're going to be talking about sex on TV, porn. We're going to be talking about losing your virginity. We're going to be talking about the reality of sex, what that actually includes, what that actually looks, smells, and feels like. And we might even cover some stuff on, a few sex myths, maybe. We are going to. And then I'm going to finish it off on a positive note, because it wouldn't be backseat positivity without it. Now, I'm also going to be giving you a few book resources to go and check out. So I have been reading this amazing book, but I'll let you know at the end, and I'll leave it in the description below for those of you who are on YouTube. So, welcome back to my podcast, fellow long-term listeners. I'm glad to have you here. I'm glad to have you listening. I can't believe you listen to me twice a week, ramble on for an hour. That's amazing. Imagine I'm just sitting next to you in the car. That's where I listen to my podcast. So that's pretty crazy. But otherwise, if you're watching on YouTube, hello. And if you're new here, I discuss all things positive. And even if they're not positive, we turn it into a little positive note at the end. So, I do try to put a positive spin on things. Lots of things in this world are quite negative, so I don't really want to fill the world with more negativity. Yay! So, okay, let's start by saying, let's start with the obvious. What is sex used for? Now, everybody thinks babies and love. Well, it's not just babies and love, my love, because I have seen people use sex for a multitude of purposes. Not in my own personal life, but having worked as a doctor, I've seen a lot of people not have sex, but I've heard their stories. We have to take sexual histories. I quite enjoy it because I'm quite a nosy person, so there we go. But sex is used for so many different things. In fact, where's it even gone? Come on, Dawn, get your shit together. Okay, here it is. Found it. So, yeah, it's used to connect two humans who have a loving bond together. It's used to consummate marriage. A bit old-fashioned, but it's true. Marriage isn't real until you have sex. But it's also used... Now, I've seen people use it for self-harm reasons, and you might think, what? What are you on about? Yeah, just give me a sec, okay? So... people can use sex as a way to self-harm themselves. Not just in a physical way, as in, feeling pain or whatever, but in order to, it's kind of like a coping mechanism to make themselves feel better. And often people don't feel better after it, but they think that they will. So they end up having sex with just random people, often to make somebody else feel better, which gives them some kind of self-worth. And self-worth is another one. A lot of people think, oh, no one will have sex with me, so I'm going to try and go and have sex with somebody. Or it's maybe not a conscious decision, a conscious trail of thought, but people might have that in their subconscious and then go and have sex with people just to make themselves feel sexier. Not blaming anyone, I'm giving the facts here. I'm giving the straight up facts. Another one is addiction. Sex addiction is not commonly known about. I don't know that it's that common actually either, but it's not commonly known about. A lot of people think of drugs, alcohol, work, coffee addiction. Humans we have a tendency to addict, don't we? I actually want to do an episode on this why do we get addicted to things? Because I just think that's so interesting. Like, we are addicted to so many things, and even if we say it's a joke, like, it's kind of true. Like, oh, I'm so addicted to Netflix, like, but you are. Anyway, that's another episode, like I said. But people, it's like a genuine, I guess you get a high from it, you know, like an actual brain chemical high. You get dopamine, oxytocin released, etc. And people want to come back for more. People are like, I want that feeling again. And fair enough. Like, it's the same with sports. It's the same with sweet food. It's the same with fast food. It's the same with lots of other things, okay? Another one I've got is adrenaline rush. Some people are addicted to adrenaline rushes, like that might be bungee jumping or jumping off of something, or I don't know, driving a fast car. But sometimes that can be sex, because sex with a random person is a bit exciting, a bit scary. You don't know what's going to happen. Are they going to murder you and chop you up and then bury you in the woods? Who knows? Hopefully not, but it's been known to happen. Or in the case of Jeffrey Dahmer, eat them, preserve them. Oh God, he did some awful things. Okay, let's move away from him. But another one, particularly over lockdown, was boredom. Oh my God, people were bored, so they were just having sexual intercourse. And yeah, fair enough. Stuck at home, got your partner there. Why not? Can't see anybody else. So you got to work with what you got. And then another one, I think this is particularly for maybe men, I don't know if that's sexist or whatever, but is like clout. So, oh yeah, like I fucked like five girls last week. I don't know. That was a Bristol accent because I live in Bristol. And that kind of gives people status, and people like that. And I'm not saying that doesn't happen in women as well, but it's kind of frowned upon. You become like a hoe or whatever. And people, especially men, want to feel like they are, it's like an alpha male thing, right? That's just an instinctive thing. They want to feel, everybody wants to feel sexy and attractive, don't they? I suppose. So, I actually had another one, and now it's completely gone out of my mind. Oh, I've just remembered. That's the next thing that I'm going to be talking about, well, a bit later, but is because people are pressured to do so. Now, there's obviously I'm not going to go into the abusive side of sexual relations, but in terms of losing your virginity, people often just do it because they either feel pressured to socially, or feel like they have to just get it over and done with. But we're going to be going more into virginity losing later. Next on the list is wild sex I've seen on TV. And there's a lot of sex on TV, isn't there? So there's like three common pillars of storytelling in like what humans are attracted to. One of them is fear. One of them is, I've fucking forgotten the second one. But the third one is like love and sex, something like that. And the thing is, people are always drawn to a love story. Like, that is why, even in the least loving films you can ever imagine, there is a love story in there somewhere, like a side story, because we'll always watch stories that have some kind of love, you know, sideline, or like a rom-com or something like that. It's just a universal story that we love. We love stories about love. We just can't help it. And we love gossip, we love drama, we love relationships, we love sex, and that is why we see it all on TV. Now, we'll get into a minute and why they don't portray it accurately, because I think there's a lot of reasons. But let's talk about, I've written down like three in particular non-realistic sex shows where they portray sex very unrealistically. Number one is one that I grew up watching, which I probably shouldn't have done, and I wasn't actually legally allowed to watch it, so maybe that's my own fault. But somebody at HMV sold me it, didn't ID me, so there we go. I think it was an 18, I was like 16 or 17, so I don't know if I've just admitted to a crime there. but oh well. Anyway, Sex and the City. Now, I watched that thing bloody loads. I love Sex and the City. I think it portrays a very positive image for women. I don't think it's necessarily a bad show to watch. Like it, so you got Samantha who's like, yeah, I'm going to have sex with whoever I want because I'm a woman and I can do what I want. And I think it shows relationships very accurately. In fact, there's a lot of breakups and a lot of drama. But I feel like there's a lot of unrealistic sex and, especially with Samantha, like you just need to go and watch it. Just go and watch it and you'll know what I mean. Now, then the second one is, you might have, these two are from Netflix, okay? You, which is literally just you, I'm not just saying you from Netflix. And I just think, like, number one, okay, and there's going to be some spoilers here. Number one is that, what's her name? Fuck, I've forgotten her name. The girl, Beck, is that her name? Beck. She has sex with, like, the window fully open. Like, everybody can watch her. And, I mean, that is completely unrealistic. I don't know anybody that does that unless it's, like, the red light district. In fact, I've been there. They still don't do it there. Now, the other thing is that the sex is just always completely magnetic and insane and flawless, to be honest. And obviously it's choreographed. Now, like, it's just crazy. Like, I mean, there are reasons, completely valid reasons why they do this. And I think being a content creator myself, I can, it's kind of hard to, if you're telling, I'm skipping it a bit, if you're telling a story to just then throw in some kind of half-assed shit sex that doesn't really work. If the storyline is, and they fall in love and they have the best sex ever and it's amazing. So You is another one. And then 3, kind of obviously, is Sex Life, also on Netflix. Sorry about that. It's kind of just generally a bit of a cringy show, but do I watch it? Yes. We've got some trash TV, okay? Some people watch, like, Love Island. Some people watch, Too Hot to Handle, I think it's called. I watch Sex Life, and there are a few other trash TV programs. They're my guilty pleasures, okay? But that's one in particular. And the sex on there is just like, slow and orgasmic and sensual and they all come together and it's amazing and orgasmic. Did I say that one? Now, I know the show is called Sex Life, but it's not called, like, Unrealistic Sex Life. Sorry. And it's also, what I noticed in that is that, number one, all of the people in it have fucking amazing bodies. Like, talk about making people feel bad. Now, I, as a older lady now, recognise that it's completely unrealistic and, they're like actors who, and I would say even some of them are a bit too thin, but, they're the kind of people that maybe wouldn't mind being naked on TV on Netflix, which is fine. As a quick side note, I went to school with one of the people on that show. Like, when I saw her naked, I knew her as a 16-year-old. So when I saw her naked and her boobies out, I was like, oh my God. Just shocked that, like, I was in a class with her. I just find that weird. Not something you see every day, So that, Sex Life is pretty unrealistic, the show, I would say, in terms of sex, but also most of the people on it are fucking gorgeous with really, well-defined bodies, and that's not the reality that you see every day walking around on the street. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, I'm just saying that's the reality. Do I have a fucking sick bod? No. But it doesn't particularly portray, it's not very inclusive to actually what the general population looks like. And I think that adds to, and we'll get on to why now, and I did skip ahead on one of them. Okay, one of them was story narrative. I actually have said banging bold actors. And another one is that everybody, as a content creator, storyteller myself, if you're just listening, by the way, I have a YouTube channel, and it's called @Dawn Barlow. It's just my name, boring. But I just, do stories about my life and stuff, and it's all fun and we have a good time. But basically, you have to learn how to storytell. And one of the most important things about storytelling and why probably TikTok is so popular is because everybody wants a satisfying ending. You don't want to watch a rom-com where everything's like sort of not really like going that well, and then the ending is that they like break up or have really shit sex or something, and then their sex life falls apart. No, you want a storyline that you're going to get to the end or go through it and just be like satisfied, the visuals satisfying, the sounds satisfying, the ending in particular, very important, is satisfying. You want it to be like, oh, like I'm relieved now, okay, that's happened, they've had like the best sex of their lives, they fell in love, they had a great time, blah blah blah. And if it just sort of flops on its face, well, no one's going to like it. Like, that's the sad reality of it. And yeah, you could end it a different way, I suppose. You could be like, oh, they had shit sex and then they broke up, but this person found somebody else, or they were happy alone. But nobody wants that, do they? You kind of want it to work out. Like, it's true. But I think some of it is the, Hollywood and stuff like that, have got a formula of what works, what makes money, and it's that satisfying, visually appealing, standard story progression. And to kind of break the mold and go and do the thing that I just suggested, it would probably not do as well. And what's Hollywood about? Money. So lots of things are about money, fair enough. So I'm going to get on to some realistic sex TV programs, not specifically about sex, but some realistic, if you want to go and watch what real sex looks like, or like a kind of comedy version of it, I'm going to point you in the right direction, so don't worry. Now, another thing is that you don't want to, so sometimes like bad sex can be seen as a bit like awkward or maybe even comedic in some cases. Now, if the tone of the film or TV show is really serious, you don't then just want to throw in some like random like awkward funny sex. Like, it breaks the tone of the show. And yes, you can have differing tones, but if they're like a couple that's just got together and it's all like amazing, and then I don't know, I guess that could be a problem that they work through. I'm not saying those films don't exist, in fact, point me to them, because I'm willing to check them out. Now, in particular, and we've all been waiting for this one, haven't we? In particular, one that is commonly known as being very destructive to the minds of everybody is porn. Why do we even watch this shit? I don't understand. Like, I do, I get it, it's satisfying, yeah, orgasm, whatever, but it's like so unrealistic. There is realistic porn out there, don't get me wrong. In fact, I actually watched a Netflix show, I think it was, I can't remember what it's called, sorry, but it was about this lady who makes sex films, and she makes them like very female, she makes them about her female audiences, like fantasies, that's the word I was looking for, fantasies, and they're supposed to be made for females. And I haven't watched one of her films because you have to pay for them, and I was like, I just don't know that I'm into it that much. They were like 20 quid, and gal be a bit poor at the moment, so people would be like, Dawn, why are you spending 20 quid on a porn movie? Fair enough, I've got other priorities. So wow, did I just say that? So yeah, there is realistic porn out there, but most of it, and this is what people want to watch, isn't it? Because it's the constant escalation of content, and that's what I always think is humans are always wanting more. I need more satisfaction, and then it kind of reaches sometimes like a reset point where you go, oh god, this is all too much now. I need like a reset, and then it just crashes back down to minimalism, and I think we are kind of going towards that in terms of the way, capitalism and stuff, everybody wants more, but now actually people are going, wait there, I don't think I want more, I think I want less. I want less stuff in my life, and I just want to live a simple life, a minimalistic life. Fair enough. So, I always do think like porn is progressing that way because it's people driven. It's driven by the viewers, essentially. So yeah, okay, let's move on to losing your virginity, or losing your V, as I put it. V. Losing your virginity is probably one of the biggest pressures of your teenage years you'll ever face. Maybe also if you're female, getting your period. I remember people being like, oh my god, I haven't got my period yet. Like, who the fuck cares? Like, I get it because I've been there, but also I was an early bloomer, so 11. But a lot of people didn't get it till they were like 16, and they were bothered by that. But that's because they thought they were abnormal. Not abnormal, as in I'm saying you're not abnormal, but people see other things happening around them and think, why am I not like that? So I remember I hadn't lost my virginity at this time, and people used to like, I was in a friend group that was a little bit the word I would use is like chavvy. If you don't know what that means, look it up. But it's basically like I'm gonna look it up, one sec. Okay, it sounds a bit mean now I read it out loud, but English, offensive, informal, of a person, behaving, dressing or speaking in a way that you think shows low social class and lack of education. I mean, that's quite a mean way to put it, but I guess that's kind of the meaning. So basically, I would describe my friendship group in my teen years as a bit chavvy, and you go through the emo phase, then you go a bit chavvy, but basically I remember it was just all about like, somebody said to me, oh, look how Dawn's walking, that must mean she's lost her virginity, because she said, if you walk with your knees out, I remember people saying this, I've heard some really stupid fucking sex myths in my time, and if you walk with your knees out, your knees aren't touching, then that means you've lost your virginity. And I was like, shit, yeah, like I want to portray that. I want people to think that I have. So I started walking with my knees out. And it was like, why? Well, because I wanted to like fit into what was kind of socially acceptable at that point. And I hadn't lost my virginity, but I wanted people to think that I had. And I know this is like a common thing, and I think sometimes I didn't allude to it, or I would just be a bit evasive about it, but I didn't want to. A lot of people, especially if they haven't, especially guys, don't want to say because they find it embarrassing if they haven't. Well, it's a shame that we're in a society that values losing your virginity at the youngest age, or certain ages, 16, 15. In fact, I would say like some people would say that 16 is like a bit old. Wait there, I just said something quite illegal, but when you're a kid, like when you're 15, people in my friendship group anyway, there was kind of an expectation that was, you were losing your virginity around then. And not that it was like, oh, you've got to 16, like you're old goods now, goodbye. But it was like, yeah, you might be the odd one out at that point in that friendship group. Now, I know in other friendship groups completely different, but that was the situation I had. So yeah, blame me for hanging around with the wrong people, but I'm not saying they were the wrong people, but that was my experience. The thing is, a lot of TV shows where you lose your virginity, the TV show, the actor loses their virginity, in inverted commas, it's often, okay, there's like a sort of general 50-50 split where sometimes it's like they have sex and it's like, oh, and then they're like moaning straight away, or it's like sometimes they're a little bit like, oh, but then after that it's like, oh, and then there's the like, no, actually there's rarely a realistic depiction of it, because let me tell you what the reality is. Now, this isn't just my experience, I'm accumulating different experiences, okay, because I've spoken to lots of people, alright? So what does losing your virginity actually feel like? Okay, as a female, I don't know about a male. I'm sure for a man it's fucking best thing ever. But for a female it's not. Because there are areas that haven't been entered before. Caves that haven't been explored. And to get into that cave, should I be calling it a cave? To get into the vagina, you need to sometimes break through the hymen. And that's painful, sometimes causes bleeding. And often you're a little bit nervous, so there's always that like, oh, if she's got a tight vagina, then that means she hasn't had that much sex. No, it just means you're nervous, okay? Because the vagina is a muscle, didn't you know? And it tightens up when the person is nervous, like any other muscle. And what happens is they get really tense and then it just gets tighter. Now, obviously there is also some physics behind it. Some, if it hasn't been, penis hasn't gone into it before, then it's going to be tighter because there is some amount of stretching, but not fucking loads. Like a muscle stretches and then it contracts. I think some of it is the nervousness and some of it is the hymen situation, and it's painful. Like it's like a kind of burning pain, and it's awkward, okay? Especially, I hear, if the other person hasn't done it before either, because if you both don't really know what you're doing, then it's kind of a bit like, where does it go? Am I doing it right? Is this normal? Should it feel like this? How do I get it in? Like, that's a particularly common one, I would say, is where does it go? Because it's not a place you often explore, especially as a young male, and actually also as a young female, and you don't know what angle to go in. It's not particularly lubricated, so you're going against some friction there, and you're already, tense and nervous, and so there's a lot of barriers to get over, and you're kind of, if the other person hasn't done it either, what the fuck are you supposed to do? Like, you can't just get the book out, get YouTube out, I don't know. I think, to be honest, I think our sex education in this country needs to be a bit better. But we're all just a bit prude, aren't we? Is that the right word? Prude? We're all just, I think the Scandinavians have it fucking sorted. Do we? No, we don't. We're all just a bit like, ooh. And like, there will be people that are like, ooh, about me making this podcast. I don't really give a fuck. Like, in my mind, I was a bit like, every episode that I make, okay, I think, what will people think of this? And not necessarily in a good way, actually. There's one side of me that's like, what will people think of this I want people to be, like, want to watch it, want to listen, want to engage in it. But there's also the side of me where it's like, I don't want to push the boat too much because technically I'm, still a doctor, and there are certain boundaries that come with that. So I don't want to say things that are like too risky. So but I'm getting better at like pushing that out of my mind, so but yeah, that is a concern for me, is like people will be like, oh my god, you're a doctor and you're talking about people losing their virginity. Actually, fuck you, because I've just realised that it's probably all the more reason to be talking about it. At least I'm being somewhat educational and not distorting the minds of young children or young people. By the way, if you haven't lost your virginity, it's okay. It's really, it's alright. But, we'll get onto it later. Do you need to... In fact, I might do a whole nother episode on this. Do you need to be in love with somebody who you lose your virginity with? Yeah, I've got that written down as an actual episode. So if you want me to do that, or if you've got any other suggestions, I'm well up for hearing them, because I'll talk about pretty much anything. And yeah, leave it in the comments down below. Or if you're listening on the podcast, you could go to my YouTube channel or send me an email, contact@diariesofadoctor.com. Anyway, that was a little pluggy plug, but let's go to the next one. Okay, right, now we're actually getting to the reality of sex now. The reality of the situation, because there are noises that you don't hear on TV. There are smells that you don't hear on TV. There are visuals that you don't see on TV. There are did I say noises? Yeah, I think oh shit, just ripped my paper. I already said noises. There are situations that don't happen on TV. Do you know what? Some kind of TV program thing, I will do, come to me, I'll make a show about the reality of sex, like an actual fucking TV show. I'll do it. I will. It'd be quite funny. In fact, I think it would be quite good if it had some comedy in it. It would make the whole sex conversation topic a little bit less like taboo. Like, you had a bit of comedy. It's all fun. This might be fun right now, this next section that we're getting into, because I think we'll go for noise first. Okay? Can I make noises? Okay, well, that was my hand, by the way. That was nothing explicit. Let's go to noises. Okay, the dreaded, this is probably the dreaded one for me. Oh, I don't know, actually. There's a couple of dreaded ones. I think there's a lot of situations I dread in sex, and these ones are the ones coming up right now. So, number one, in no particular order, is the queef. I don't know if that's an actual definition word, an actual word. Let's have a look. Is it a word in the dictionary? God, my yeah. Well, I don't know if it's an actual. Oh, okay. It's called vaginal flatulence, but slang terms include queef, vart, like a vagina fart, or fanny fart. Nice. Oh, so tampons can treat or prevent vaginal wind. Okay, so let's talk about what causes that. Now, any fart or noise in general is made by the turbulent movement of air. Did you know that? Because whistling, if I just go, then you can still hear it because it's moving against my lips and that's just me breathing out, by the way, and my vocal cords and things like that. But if I go, I'm sorry if I just deafened you, but that's adding, narrowing the air gap, the gap for the air to come out of, and the whistling is like a turbulent movement of airflow. And that's the same for a fart, okay? Now, there's a reason why dogs' farts, you can't really hear them. Now you can, sometimes they're a bit like that. Sometimes they might be a bit like, I don't know. No, not like that. Take your dog to the vet if it's doing that. But my dog, when she farts, doesn't make a noise, and that's because they don't have butt cheeks. So it's just the butt opens and then the air comes out. Now, the reason why farting in humans in particular makes a noise is sometimes, dog might make a noise when it's wet, like wet bum. Humans would make a noise because we've got the compression of air by our butt cheeks and by vagina lips and maybe by our legs and by other things, and then you force the air out, and it's like it's the forcing out of the air that makes the noise. I'm not very good at physics, but it's the turbulence of that airflow, and if it's wet in particular, it's probably a bit louder, I would say, because then it's got water to ripple over. But anyway, where was I getting to? I was basically talking about queefs, and yeah, so basically a queef comes from sometimes you go down a water slide. Water can go up there, air can go up there, but sometimes if there's a penis going in, it pushes air in as well, and then you get when you move, the air has to come out. I mean, if it's in a significant volume, it's going to come out. Sometimes air can be reabsorbed through the body, but generally it's going to find its way out. So yeah, obviously it's going to come out the way it came in, and that then makes a noise. And okay, I'll be honest, it's happened to me. It's embarrassing. It's fucking embarrassing. You're like, in some ways actually though, for me, I would prefer it over a fart, because at least there's no smell, and at least I didn't choose to let it out, because a fart you can kind of keep in. A queef, not really an option. It's If it's coming out, it's coming out. You don't have a sphincter like you do for your bum hole. I mean, you do have like muscles around the entrance, but not enough to hold a queef in. Anyway, that's queefing. So that is an embarrassing one. But to be honest, like, you know, if you're a guy, like, get over it, please, because you pushed it in there. Not my fault. Okay? So you get what you give. Alright, next, like I've alluded to, is the fart. Sometimes girls have to fart. Sometimes guys have to fart. It's a problem, especially when you're in a new relationship. I remember being in severe abdominal pain because you're like, I don't want to fart, and you're like, oh, it's so painful, and you just don't want to do it. I used to not wee in my ex-boyfriend's toilet because I was worried, you know, when you go for a wee and then fart comes out as well and it echoes and then it makes a really loud noise, and it's like the bathroom was in the bedroom, obviously a door, but echoing fart, it could be disastrous. So, I mean, it was obviously a me problem. He never said anything, like he was always okay with it, but I would never go in there if he was in there because I was always worried about a farty eruption, a noisy eruption in the toilet bowl in an echoey bathroom with a hole under the door so that if any farts escaped, then the noise would echo right under the door. I was not up for that. So I think I probably have farted in sex, but not to a significant amount, maybe just a little bit, unnoticeable by most, in fact. So I think you might end up accidentally, in the heat of the moment, letting a bit out and not realising. But I think, like, I don't know, I'm not really that bothered by it, to be honest. If somebody else farted, you got to do what you got to do. But that's the reality of it. You don't see people farting on TV whilst they're having sex. Okay, that's noise done. And it obviously also encompasses the next one, which is smells. Great. Fart. Part 2. Yeah, I mean, I've already discussed it. We don't need to go into it again. You know that farts smell quite often. Sometimes they don't. In fact, I had some beans the other day. What did I have? I had a vegetable chili. Oh my god, it had beans in it, kidney beans. It just blew up my stomach with gas, but this might be TMI. When it came out the other end, it didn't smell. It was just wind. And I was like, oh, this is bloody great. Like, this is the best kind of wind. A satisfying release with no scent. Use that, put that on my gravestone if you want. It's fine. Okay, I've got 3 here. One of those is fart, we've covered it. Second one, sweat. The obvious one. Now, a little bit of sweat in a man's pit doesn't bother me. In fact, a little bit sexy. Wouldn't say no. Interestingly though, if I stink of BO, I'm kind of bothered by that. But look, we can all get in the shower after. I mean, the thing is, when you watch sex on TV, like, you obviously can't smell it, and they're not going to go, oh, you put some deodorant on, love. So, you know, this one's a bit difficult to portray on camera, but alas, it's still there. Something, you know, you might wait there, because sweat is shown on camera when they're having sex, but, you know, with sweat, especially if, you know, you've been sleeping and then you wake up and you're sweaty in bed, and then, because the reason why sweat smells, okay, is because it's stale. And what happens is the bacteria, don't ask me how I know this, the bacteria reproduce, they eat, they like have a good time in your pits, and then they produce waste products, we'll call them waste products, and that is what smells, I believe. So fresh sweat doesn't smell. In fact, it's just a nice little salty treat for all to eat. But stale sweat and then new sweat makes stinky sweat. Sometimes I might even have a shower before I have sex, because I'm like, I feel a bit stinky. I'd prefer it for my own and the other person's enjoyment, but for my own mental benefit if I just didn't stink, you know. So I'm a sweaty person, but there we go. Okay, the third one is kind of, I'm just going to put this into its own category, is period. Now, it's not necessarily a smell, but I'm not a sex on the period kind of girl, but some people don't mind it. It's kind of ironic that you want sex more. My libido is higher when I'm on my period, and I'm like, for fuck's sake, why are you doing this to me? Like, why? Why are you doing this? Nature not working with me here. Anyway, I'll tell you some more TMI. I don't actually have periods at the moment because I'm on a pill that stops them. So it's pretty good. But not for any other reason, by the way. As in, I'm on a contraceptive pill, not like any other pills. But yeah, sometimes you have a surprise period. Let's just call it blood in general. Sometimes you have a surprise bit of blood. Sometimes it's from a period, and sometimes it's from tearing. Yes, fissures are a thing. A fissure is like a tear, small tear, especially in that region. And you can get anal fissures, you can get vaginal fissures. I think that's kind of it. I don't know any other fissures. Maybe you can get oral fissures. Maybe they're just on mucous membranes. I don't know. But anyway, something called a fissure. Fissure, if you want to know how to spell it, because otherwise it sounds like fish, swimming fish. It's not fish. Fissure. Anyway, so bleeding can occur. I've actually had that issue with the period during sex before. Like, 1 minute you're not on your period, and then suddenly, I don't know if it's the movement, but it activates things, and then you are. And you're kind of like, fucking hell. I don't like it personally. Great lubricant, I suppose, but it's not my thing. I don't like the smell of it. It's not like I'm like grossed out by blood. Like, trust me, I've seen a lot of blood, but I don't feel very sexy. And for me, feeling sexy in sex, very important. So if I'm on my period, like, I don't judge people that do it. You go for it. You do you. In fact, hats off to you. I wish I had the courage and ability to do so, but I don't. Sorry. I don't know why I just apologised to you. But yeah, so surprise period on sex, not ideal. And sometimes surprise blood from other things, tearing. And that's not necessarily anybody's fault. Sometimes it just happens. I'm just going to put out a little announcement here. If you have bleeding after sex regularly, and it wasn't particularly, what would be the word, vigorous, please go and get that checked out, because you need to go and get your cervix looked at or tested for STIs. So it's if there's, you might have rough sex. That's the word I was looking for. I was thinking aggressive, but I didn't want to say that word. I was thinking, okay, if you have rough sex and then it happens and it's just once and that's it and it never happens again and you're all fine, that's probably okay. But if every time you have sex you have bleeding, it's called post-coital bleeding, please go and get that checked out. You need to go and get your smears done. This is my little health plug here. You need to go and get your smears done. You need to, after every partner, and maybe even before every partner, this is what I did, is get an STI check, because I'm not saying you have an STI, but you might do, and that can be a cause of bleeding. So go get yourself checked out. You should all be getting your smears done anyway. I've had 2 now. It's fine. It's a little bit painful. Painful? It's uncomfortable. I wouldn't say pain. It's just weird. It feels weird. Generally, I don't really care though, like, about people going down there. Sounds like a weird way to say that, but healthcare professionals, I'm just like, you gotta do what you gotta do, hon. You go for it. And, if that encourages any of you guys to go and get your smear done, I've fucking saved the world, okay, in my opinion. I'm only joking. But please go and do it. Like, if you're in the UK, it's free. Why would you not? It takes 5 minutes. It's really not that bad. Okay, I've probably talked about that for about 5 minutes now. But it's like so important. I should be a cervical smear advocate. As soon as I got my one, I was 24 and a half. I sound like a 7-year-old. I'm 7 and a half. But I was 24 and a half. And because you get it 6 months before your 25th birthday. And I was like straight there. I was like, bitch, I'm coming. I'm coming in and I'm getting it done. And I was fucking glad. I was raring to go. I was very keen to get it done. Because I'm like, if I can get a checkup for free, why wouldn't I? Prevention is always better than cure. Anyway, okay, shut up, Dawn. No one wants to hear your spiel about cervical smears for 5 minutes. But I will also get on to STIs now quickly. And this is not another like, guys, you should go and get yourself checked for STIs. But I mean, you should. I would always get myself checked just routinely before any new partner, if planned, and after any new partner. And if that other partner is sleeping with other people, which, you know, or you are, then ideally you would get it done between them, but I understand that's not always possible for everybody. But I don't know, if you're regularly sexually active, maybe once every month, once every 2 months wouldn't be bad. If you're using condoms, then I don't know, maybe a bit less. There's no real hard and fast rule. Ideally, you'd get it done between everyone, but we're busy people. And they do have those at-home ones now, to be fair, which is quite good. Get it delivered to your house, you just do a little swabby boy. And, for men, by the way, it's actually just peeing. Like, you pee every day, so it's really not that hard. For women, it's just a swab. You just put it up there for 10 seconds, swirl it around. It's like it's not painful, as long as you don't have any, infection or something going on up there. If it is painful, then please go and see a doctor or a nurse, because it shouldn't be, unless you're being severely aggressive. Oh, also painful sex. I feel like this is now just turning into a healthcare spam session where I tell you all the symptoms that you should look out for. But I guess, like I said, if I'm helping somebody, then it's not a bad thing. But yeah, if sex is really painful during or after, again, go get yourself checked out. Maybe I'll just leave the symptoms you should go and see a doctor for in the comments down in the the description or something, so I don't need to keep being like, okay, and if you have this problem, then you should go and see a doctor, and if you have this problem, then you should go and have a wee test. But generally I think people are quite, savvy about what they should go and see a doctor for down there, so, I think you're all doing pretty well. But yeah, STIs, they are talked about on TV, to be fair. Not in they're often ostracized or joked about or criticized or put down, shown in a negative light. It's never usually it's usually in a comedic way, and Joey from Friends became the VUD advert face, and I just think it's often portrayed in a bad way. However, wait there, I just realised we need to get on to the positive shows, the good shows that we could all go and watch. Okay, like I said, there is some good porn out there, as in porn that is more realistic. If you want to go watch porn, you might want to go check that one out. That was a weird sentence, a weirdly awkward way to say that. Check that one out. Okay, I'm sorry about my rustling papers. I'm like a news anchor. Where have I written it? Realistic. Okay, I've written it here. So, in particular, a funny one. Okay, it's funny. The In-Betweeners. When Will, spoiler, I'll let you all leave or skip ahead. Spoiler, when Will, one of the most awkward, nerdy characters on the show, although arguably all of them are, when Will has sex with Charlotte and he loses his virginity, it's comedic, but it's more realistic than a lot of the other TV shows that you'll ever watch. He doesn't get it in, he becomes a plank and he just rocks backwards and forwards. It's quite funny to watch. You could probably find it on YouTube, and I think it just makes light of the situation, but it's not, it's kind of like that the show is taking the piss out of him for, I don't want to sound like a prude, shows should all be so educational about sex. Obviously that one's comedic, and there are shows that are comedic, educational about sex. If you're in the UK, sex education is actually pretty fucking good. I would say it's a good show that you can watch. It's not boring and shit. It's actually good. It's entertaining. It's good to watch. It's got good actors, and I would say go and watch that if you can. I know some of my listeners are not from the UK, so it might not be possible, but VPNs exist. You know what I'm saying? Those are the only ones that I can really think of right now. I haven't written any others down. I didn't expect this to be a long segment, to be fair. But I want to finish off by giving you some book ideas as well. This is universal. I will leave in the comments, maybe the comments and the description, if you're just listening on the podcast. I'm probably going to use an affiliate link, which basically means that I get like 2% of whatever Amazon charges you, but I mean, you don't actually pay any extra, so it's absolutely, like, I may as well have not even told you, but I feel like I have, like, you know, morally I'm obliged, because, you know, I believe in ethics. So yeah, it will give me like a tiny bit of money, but, you know, it all just goes to supporting the show. Anyway, so I'll leave 2 books in the description down below, or the comments. Number 1 I'm fucking loving at the moment, and it's called Come As You Are. It's by somebody called Emily Nagoski. It's bloody great. She's like some kind of sex therapist, and it's just amazing. Like, a lot of it resonates with me. I'm like, yeah, Emily, I feel you. And another one, which I haven't actually read, I'm only like halfway through Come As You Are, but it's a good one. I do recommend it. And the second one is Pleasure Gap. Now that is more about, Come As You Are is more about sexual issues. So if you like, if your libido's low, or if, I don't know, you've got like pain during sex or something like that, it might be a good one to listen to, amongst many other problems. Or you're just interested in it. I don't know. I'm kind of interested in it. And the second one is called The Pleasure Gap, which I haven't read yet, but it's in my Kindle waiting to be read. And it's about why female orgasms are put below male orgasms, and how to reduce the pleasure gap. I just love reading, like, I'm not really a novel reader, as in I don't really read like fiction books. I have done in the past, and I do still occasionally, but I generally read like self-improvement books, self-help books. I mean, that's kind of what my channel's about anyway, so I just think they're really fun and really interesting. So that's why I've got them in my library waiting to be read. And I want to end on a positive note, is because, I mean, I kind of did already, but, you know, sex can be really intimate, and it gets better over time, okay? Yes, there are all of those issues that I mentioned, the reality of sex, but if you're in a loving relationship, you can work past those and, you know, just brush it off. Does it really matter if you accidentally queefed? Probably not. Does it matter if you farted? No. Like, have a shower after if you're sweaty. And, you know, sex develops over time. Also makes babies, which is pretty fucking cool. And like I said, go and check out those 2 books, not just because I'm like, oh, affiliate link, but because I actually genuinely think that Come As You Are one's really good. And it just describes sex in like a really interesting and realistic way, much more depth than I could ever go into in a one podcast episode. But yeah, go check that out, and thanks so much for listening, guys. I've lots of new listeners have come across the podcast recently, and honestly, I welcome you guys. I welcome you on board. Thanks so much for joining, and it's really great. And for all of the people who are sticking around, like, I love you guys. If you could comment down below, give the video a like, let me know you're all actually enjoying what I'm talking about. If you want me to talk about anything else, I'm well up for your suggestions. I want you guys involved in the content, and I'll give you shout outs. I will. I did it in the last episode. So yeah, I am all up for audience involvement. In fact, I was wondering about doing a live stream podcast, which I don't know if anybody's ever done. Probably have, but it just seems like a bit of a crazy thing to do. It might go really badly, but let me know if you want me to do that. But yeah, any other topics, I will talk about them. It's hard because on my podcast, it's hard to, like, for you guys to comment back, but on my YouTube channel you can. But yeah, like I said, go over to the YouTube channel. Or also, guys, could you please, I've got a couple of favours to ask, alright? I waited till the end, although to be fair I only just remembered. Number 1 is, please could you rate me on Spotify or maybe just Spotify or Apple Podcasts, wherever you're listening from. It'd be super helpful. If you're listening or you've listened to loads of episodes and you really like it, then why not give it a 5-star? It's literally just tap one button and that's it. It would be super great for the channel, help it get to more people and help other people like you. And that would be really great. And quick little tiny plug is, if you want to watch the video, you can go to my YouTube channel, which is, like I said earlier, at Dawn Barlow, DAWNBARLOW. And if you want to watch the videos 2 weeks earlier and get early access to the videos, I do release them on the day of the podcast release, the audio podcast release, on my Patreon page, which is Patreon Diaries of a Doctor. Just search it in the Patreon page. Anyway, your support would be so helpful. Like, basically, I'm just making all this content for free, which I don't mind. I love making it. Trust me, I do. But your support would be super helpful. It would mainly help me, survive. I think that's probably one of the biggest ones. And just continue making content. I think it's hard. I don't need a new microphone. I don't need a new computer. I don't need new equipment. But to, be able to bring content to you guys continually. I don't have a job. This is currently my full-time job, for better or for worse. And so, your support would be super helpful. I understand times are tough. I'm only asking for, my lowest one is £5 a month. That's what I'm asking for. But if you want to support in other ways, free ways, give me a like, give me a rating. That would be, and tell your friends. Thanks. Okay. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you. I upload every Monday and Thursdays, and I'll see you on Thursday. Or Monday if I upload the video on Thursday. But this is Monday today.